Guys, welcome to the review show. My name's Austin, and welcome to a brand new series, The Last of Us. I'm really excited for this one. I played the games, and so this was really exciting. Looking forward Pedro Pascal as Joel and Bella Ramsey as Ellie, which a lot of people were controversy against her for the looks, which is probably just the same people that dislike certain things about Ellie in the game. So wasn't really caring about accuracy of how the characters look in any way. They just really chose for the best actors and actresses for the role, and that's what they did, and they pulled it off really well. For this series, we're going to be doing episode reviews, of course, but there will be spoilers for this. If you haven't seen the episode, go watch it. It's on HBO Max. You can watch that. Come back to this. But as well, there'll be sort of mild spoilers for the game-ish. I'll be sort of comparing it in some form, but I won't be degrading it sort of in some way because of it. It's a little confusing at the moment, but when we get into it, you will see my point in certain ways. But overall, I really enjoyed the episode, so that's your spoiler-free review right there. So go off and watch it, then come back. But yeah. Let's get right into it. I was really excited and sort of terrified at the same time for this series, because they came out and also said that there's going to be minor changes, by adding things and maybe changing certain lines, or changing how the way that the show proceeds certain things, as well as that that it won't also deviate from the game storyline itself. So meaning what happens, for example, in The Last of Us Part 2 is mostly going to be of Season 2, and so Season 2 wouldn't be this bridge between the first game and the third and the second game. So on that other hand, it's kind of like, okay, all right, interesting. You guys are going to go that route. Maybe you guys can fix up some of the problems that each game had in some form, so in this first episode, you really see what they're going for with the show itself. You see that they are taking risks by adding things. Like at the beginning of this episode, you're more with Joel and his daughter Sarah than you are in the game. So you kind of spend time with Sarah, and you see her go to school. You see her fix the watch, and you see her go to the store and fix the watch. And next, you kind of also see, things slowly happening where it's police sirens, helicopters, jets, not stuff that you get to see in the game, mostly because it happens at night in the game, where you pick up is where Sarah gives Joel his watch. That's where you pick up in the game, and you don't really get to see everything else, as well as that. It takes itself time, so it treats their audience like they haven't seen the game. So they explain things out, and they even add a little news thing from 1968 talking about the fungus, which is the actual real thing. When I was first playing the game back in 2013, I figured out that this was a real fungi that would take over ants, and it would basically mind control them. And it's pretty scary. And so on that aspect, that's really cool. And they also sort of changed the way of certain how the infected work in the world. So there's no spores where it's in the air, so it's not affected, so it's not air infection or anything like that. And so it's mostly just going to be from the bites or some new form, if you're touching, I guess, the infected also, because they have sort of stingers, I guess. I don't know. We haven't got to see that much of it. We haven't even really seen a full-on affected active yet. We've seen maybe runners, when the outbreak's starting to happen and all that. And they do it pretty well. It's when you're watching the episode, you're like, that's from the game. That's pretty cool. You're like, oh shoot, and they've done that pretty good, well. And there's other parts in the episode that kind of sticks out to me like a sore thumb for some reason. I don't know why. It's such a minor little change that it doesn't really matter, but it sort of does. Because in the game, Joel at first doesn't really want to leave Boston because he knows how dangerous is out there. But in the show, they're giving him the reason to go find Tommy, and so he wants to go find Tommy, and so he needs a car battery instead of. So he's talking to Robert to buy a car battery instead of guns, And so when next Ellie comes along, he it kind of is like, you know what, we'll take the girl and we'll go find Tommy at the same time. And it's like, that's kind of well, I don't know how I feel about that exactly, because it's sort of like, well, at first his character doesn't really want to, because it also reminds him of Sarah, who we're in spoilers, who dies. So dies in the show and dies in the game. And so he kind of doesn't want to do that because of that memory. And so when he attacks the officer at the end of the episode, when in the game there's two officers, he kind of gets a flashback to that event, and it's like, I don't know how I feel about that, because we're still, this is the first episode, he still could be like in denial or whatnot, but and when you're playing the game, it's like, does he actually care about this little girl? But then you see, like, no, he actually does. He's starting to, like, you see him form into this sort of dad figure. But right off the bat, you can see in some form that this event triggered that memory because Ellie was just there. Now you could say that no, because of how it's turning out, it could be the same, just a memory trigger. But I think it's just symbolizing that he still he cares in some form. And so I don't like in that. They could do something interesting with this and still and all that. It's not gonna affect in any form, but it's like, it's just like a minor little thing that somehow is some reason bothering me, but it shouldn't really. So in aspects, it's not really affecting the episode in that whole. But there's also, after that, when the reveal of the bite comes out, it's just kind of quick. It's like, all right, I'm infected, but it's not doing anything to me. But we also need to go, and it's like really quick. It's very abrupt. But in the game, you have this long, sort of like 2 to 3 minute cutscene where you have Tess like point a gun at Ellie, and so it's like this long like cutscene, and them explaining it, and so you slowly start hearing the sirens, and that's kind of like, all right, we need to go now. But it's like in the episode, it's like, all right, I'm affected, yeah, but you need to trust me, we need to go now. And so it's like very quick, and but yeah, that's kind of where the episode ends with that. So there's some abruptness in some parts of the episode, mostly the episode treats the whole entire thing like the audience have never played the game, which is the best route to go for. But then there's some parts where they treat the audience like you should have, like they should have played the game or something, like they know the knowledge of the game, and it's like this, and it's like trying to balance the both, I guess, or like it's going back and forth. And it's kind of weird on that aspect, and I hope that they don't do that throughout the whole entire series. And so where it treats like the audience that all right, you should have played the game. Here's the beat by beat numbers or something on those lines. But overall, I really enjoyed the episode. I think it's a great performance from Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey. I think they did great. The one thing that this show really does, when I look at it, I'm like, that's The Last of Us. That's awesome. And it looks amazing from the way it looks. And it's just like, you can tell that so much hard work has went into this, and so much production for it, the value for it, like the sets designs are amazing. Now there's a couple sets like that looks a little bit cheap, but when you look at it as a whole, it looks pretty good with the overgrown buildings, and it's I think that this is something special, and especially when you have not artists from Naughty Dog and people from Naughty Dog coming over to the show, helping out people that are working on this show to make sure that everything is what it's meant to be. And so I'm really excited for episode 2. Can't wait for it. And right after I finished this episode, I was like, I want to watch episode 2, but it's just not out yet. So I'm really excited for what's upcoming for this show, and this just makes me want to play the game even more again after beating it who knows how many more times. I'm gonna give The Last of Us episode 1 an A-. Really enjoyed it. Just minor little tweaks could fix that the first episode. Like I don't mind certain changes, like adding new things or like changing some, like how the story is told. That's what I want. But sometimes when a minor change is made, it can stick out like a sore thumb, and so that's kind of what worries me. I don't mind things adding, but if it's like, I feel like the game was written better than this show so far. And I'm not saying that this show's written terribly at all. It's written pretty good, but when you compare it to the game, it's not as comparable to that as the written side of it, and that's of course how it is. But when you have the source material there, you should know, all right, we need to keep it on the same level of the way that it's written, and like not like tell it the same way, but tell it in a way where it feels different, and where it doesn't seem like, okay, it's forced. And what with the battery situation and adding the Tommy situation kind of feels like it's forced upon, and it's like when it's like, oh, this just happened, and like we need you now, and type of deal. I don't know. Maybe they'll warm up to me. I need to watch it more. But I'm really excited for episode 2 still. But anyway, thank you for watching. Like always, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.